Hello and welcome to Tularis University. In this video, we'll discuss about zone definitions in XPressEntry, and we'll also explain the hazard, outside, and shelter-in-place zone definitions. Now, we assume in this video that you have XPressEntry installed, which you see in the middle of my screen here, and that you have your handheld installed and connected, which you see on the far right of my screen. Now, just to explain about the zone definitions, let us go into the Add Edit Info, and let us select Zones. Now we have different zones set up here, and they are set up in different ways. Now, if a zone is set up as outside, then that means that zone is outside of the building. So anyone in this zone would not be missing in the event of a mustering. So this is a zone where you put people who have left the facility or left an area where you are monitoring. Now, another zone definition we have is the muster point definition. Now, an outside zone can be a muster point, which means during an emergency evacuation, you can muster people to that zone. Now, a muster point must not necessarily be outside. It could be inside your building. And that is where we come to something called shelter in place. Now, this is useful where you have a situation where you want a user to shelter where they are, such as if you have a shootout or if you have a hurricane, you want users to stay put, but you also want to account for them. So when a user is sheltered in place and they present their badge at the muster reader, they'll be taken out of the missing list, but they are still in a hazard area. So in the event that the muster is over, they will be pushed back to a hazard zone where if there is another muster operation, they will be seen as missing. Now, these are the three different types of definitions that we have in XPressEntry, and I'll just demonstrate what these mean in a muster scenario. Now, in a typical scenario, all your users are either inside the building or outside the building. Now, if you look into entry exit here, I've put some users in different locations in the facility. And if you look at this admin building, main building, and manufacturing under the zones, you'll see that each of these are marked as hazard areas. Now, it is essential for this to be marked as hazard because any zone that is marked as outside would not be monitored during a muster event. Now, if you want a user to be mustered, we've demonstrated this in other muster videos, but in this video, we'll be demonstrating the shelter in place. Now, if you want a zone to be shelter in place, you just have to set that zone as a muster point. For an example, I will set the admin zone as a muster point and show you how we can shelter people in place using the admin zone muster point. Now let us demonstrate the muster event and go into the handheld. Now the shelter in place feature works either if you're mustering in a global view or if you're using the muster zones. All that matters is how you set your muster to point. So let's check on the zones here in the handheld, and let us set our muster point to the admin building in this case. And if we go back to the missing list, if we present badges, let us switch our server to muster. Let's present a few badges. Now, at the end of this muster, we can just hit finish. As you can see, if you look at the location of the scanned people, you see that they are in the admin building. Now, if this muster is done, you see exactly what happens once we finish the muster. Now, at the end of the muster, all the users are reverted back into the missing list. And as you can see, all those we mustered are back on the list. And this is because they were mustered in place in a hazard area. Now, this is what happens in a typical muster operation when you use a shelter in place. Feel free to reach out to us at helpdesk@tularis.com for technical queries or sales@tularis.com for product inquiries. Thank you.